Hello! The purpose of this video is to give you a very brief introduction to the Croton Waterworks, a massive piece of historic infrastructure that has been bringing fresh water to New York City for over 150 years, and that has had a profound impact on public health, industry and commerce, and the landscape of New York and many of its surrounding communities. Before the opening of the Croton Waterworks in 1842, New Yorkers had suffered through decades of thirst, fire, and disease. Finally, in 1833, the Common Council resolved to tap the distant waters of the Croton River system. Today, Chief Engineer John Bloomfield Jervis usually gets credit for designing the system, although much of his work was clearly drawn from a predecessor, Major David Bates Douglas. Construction began in 1837, and for the next 5 years, teams of engineers and work crews toiled away to make this 42-mile-long system a reality. When the system finally came online in 1842, there was a massive public celebration in which the citizens of New York were treated to free glasses of Croton water, complete with ice. But this is not the end of the story. Construction on the Croton system continued through the 19th and 20th centuries and into the 21st. Today, people speak of the Old Croton Aqueduct and the New Croton Aqueduct. In the strictest sense, these terms refer to the system's two major conduits, which were constructed in two distinct periods. The Old Aqueduct refers to the part of the system constructed between 1837 and 1842, and the New Aqueduct refers to the part of the system constructed between 1885 and 1890. In reality, however, construction on the system as a whole has been continuous, and there are many structures that service both the old and the new conduits. For that reason, we will try to use more general terms like the Croton Waterworks when referring to the system as a whole, and will only use old or new when referring to those specific conduits and the structures that were built to service them exclusively. This is also a good place to note that the old aqueduct has actually been offline for about 60 years, while the new aqueduct is still capable of providing New York City with between 10 and 30% of its fresh water. Now let's take a look at how the system actually works. As mentioned previously, the waterworks starts in the watershed of the Croton River system in Westchester and Putnam counties, where about a dozen dams create the reservoirs that feed the aqueducts. As we go south, let's follow the old aqueduct as it wends its way through the communities along the Hudson River. The conduit through which the water flowed is a masterpiece of 19th century design, carefully engineered to gradually drop 13 inches every mile in order to keep the water in the gravity-fed system moving. Just a few of the innumerable structures that the aqueduct passes by, under, or through as it extends south include ventilators, which relieve the buildup of air pressure within the conduit, culverts, which allow streams or roads to pass beneath the aqueduct, and keepers' houses, which provided accommodations to the full-time employees charged with the task of maintaining the aqueduct. One of the most dramatic points along the length of the old Croton Aqueduct occurs at High Bridge, where the conduit crosses the Harlem River between the Bronx and Manhattan. Some major alterations notwithstanding, High Bridge is still considered the oldest bridge into Manhattan. Immediately after crossing High Bridge, a portion of the water was pumped to the top of the High Bridge water tower, the height of which gave it enough pressure to be distributed to the residents living in the higher elevations of Manhattan. The rest of the water continued its journey south, and eventually met up with the new Croton Aqueduct at the 135th Street Gatehouse, a type of building designed to manage the flow of water at crucial points along the system. From here, the water continued south, passed through the 119th Street Gatehouse on the other side of Manhattan Valley, and was eventually collected at the receiving reservoirs in what is now Central Park. After leaving these reservoirs, the next and last stop for the waters from Croton was the Murray Hill Reservoir, which was built where the main branch of the New York Public Library now stands. From here, the water could be pumped to individual Manhattan residences. That just about wraps up this very brief introduction to the Croton Waterworks. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our website for more information on Croton.